All right, we are back. Peanut Gallery, take it away.
Yeah, so if you didn't hear over the past couple of weeks, Tony Khan has been trying to do weird things with the women's division. As in, like, he's been dismissing people over his booking style of the women's division. He's been criticized quite a bit over the booking decisions that this women's division entails. Mm-hmm. And a lot of wrestlers within the promotion and outside of the promotion have spoken out against Tony Khan's booking of the women's division. It's just come to light.
Well, this is booking in general. Right. I don't like Tony Khan's booking at all.
But we're talking about the women's division more specifically.
Because it's the most hurt division. It is. Where when they started AEW, the women's division felt different. It felt very fresh and new and lively. But it doesn't have that feeling anymore.
But it was never the strong suit of AEW. Which I get. I get that it wasn't the strongest suit of AEW from the very beginning.
The tag division was their strongest division by far.
Right. And it still is.
To a degree.
It's the only division that's relevant at this point. Because
there's essentially no main event scene at that point.
Well, there isn't.
And the women's division is just in the shitter. The responses online from the women have been horrible. Mm-hmm. And there are more situations, and people are like, oh, I want to believe the people that were talking. Well, don't dismiss people who left the company.
Right, like Big Swole, she was a huge critic of the women's division. She's been saying it for years that the women's division is being terribly booked.
And then the one girl, I can't remember her name. It's like Lou Festo or something like that. She's not even on Twitter, or X now. She's not even on the platform anymore because she was just bullied into oblivion.
Right.
And the thing is, that is a perception you people have. That's why the ratings are where they are. Right. Nobody wants to be associated with somebody who likes AEW.
Right. Then we can also talk about Soraya's actions over liking a tweet, or I saw that retweeting something about the AEW's the women's division, the state of the women's division.
Yep.
And it looks like that she might be agreeing with them as well. Just as someone who is part of the division, the storyline with the Outcast really went nowhere with her rivalry, and she understood that someone got injured, but at the same time, it's like they're...
Tony Storm was their women's world champion, and they did nothing. I mean, it was a short reign.
Yeah.
I'm happy that Hikaru Shida is the champion again.
Right.
But it's like, where did she get this title opportunity?
Right.
They're just given these title matches. I'm like, make it mean something.
Right.
And that's
one of the biggest criticisms is that there seems to be no direction for the women's division in AEW.
And just like with not the Baker match that we've been talking about to nauseum, essentially, that really kicked this off. But there was another Baker match. It was on a Collision, I believe. Mm-hmm. It was like less than a minute.
Yeah.
Because, and it coming from the inside out, it was told that Tony Khan just booked it because they needed a women's match on the show.
Right.
If you have no plans for the women's division, don't have them on there. Just like with MJF. If you don't have plans for MJF on this Dynamite or whatever, don't have him on the show.
Right.
Don't just throw him in there because that's disrespectful.
Right. And I think a lot of people are, or I guess it's now just coming to light that it is something that has become a major issue within the company itself. I mean, you remember that sign that was, it was, I think that was on Collision, or was it on Dynamite?
It was on an AEW show, and I think it was shown right at the Britt Baker and Taya Valkyrie match.
Yes.
I could be misremembering that.
And again, coming off of that performance, we're now in a situation where this has come up again. And Tony Khan has, and the development that has happened since that point was Tony Khan dismissing, outright refusing to listen to anybody with regards to the division. I mean, there was that call that was supposedly had with members of the roster with regards to the women's division.
There was an email sent basically to them to say, defend us on social media.
Right.
That was told to them. It's like, you have your marching orders.
Right.
If that's going to be the response, what are we doing here?
Right.
What is this? What is this situation?
And what's not being addressed is the actual issue that people are bringing up, and that is that the women's division is not being very well booked.
And we're not saying that because the women suck. Actually, I think AEW has one of the stronger women's divisions. They have great talent.
They have a great women's division, especially when compared to the very get-go, especially when compared to the start.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, I mean, they have the most potential, but I mean, personally speaking, Impact Wrestling has just a strong women's division.
Well, they've always had a very strong. I mean, not always.
Ebbs and flows.
But at least over the past couple of years, their women's division has been very strong.
Oh, absolutely.
But comparing that to the WWE, who now has a very strong women's division, Impact. Not Impact. AEW just feels like the women's division is an afterthought.
And here's the thing, and I talked about this during our last review of a match, and I'm going to bring it up again. Anytime that they get into the ring, they go by numbers.
Right.
There's no legit. It doesn't feel like they legitimately have the passion. It's almost like they are trying to get through it and get out.
It's a paycheck for them.
Mm-hmm. Now, this is not everybody, but a lot of these matches that I've been seeing and a lot of the promos and a lot of the segments, it's like, whatever.
Right.
And that's not what I want. I mean, seriously. I think you have another one, yeah. And Baker as a bully has been brought up a couple of times, and guess what?
It's all the interpersonal drama that's been going on within the division as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it puts a lot of people off, and when botches are made, people just stop caring. I mean, we saw that with the Taya Valkyrie match that she had with Britt Baker.
Body language just slumped down.
Yeah, she doesn't
caring.
care. And I think that a lot of women are in that same situation where they just don't care because the management team
doesn't care
about them.
But also, I think she's running the whole women's division essentially because anytime the women's champion did not matter because Baker was on television constantly. It's like, who is your champion right now?
Right.
All I see is Britt Baker in 4 or 5 segments in the main event segment, in this segment, and it's like, why?
Right.
Of all the people.
Right.
I mean, at the very least, she's not champion right now because her reign was fine, but she's not champion. She doesn't have to be champion. She runs the division.
Right.
So who cares?
It's her personal little kingdom.
And it's like, if you don't agree with Baker, you're out. And we've heard this story time and time and time again. And it's like, when are we going to get to the point when these women stop lying to us and actually address the issues?
Because Tony Khan, he clearly does not want to address the problem. Britt Baker, she's fine where she's at. She doesn't want to address the problem. I mean, members of the roster are speaking out, and they're speaking out in support of these people who are criticizing the very same roster.
But the thing is, it doesn't feel authentic. These statements that these women have been putting out feel so
and they might very
manufactured.
They might very well be forced statements.
The only one that I think actually legitimately cared was the response from Penelope Ford. That was the only one that I thought really mattered. But everybody else seemed like paint by numbers, copy paste. You have to do this, and then the email was released that it was sent to them.
Right,
and it's like, yeah. Of course it's going to be forced.
Yeah.
Because somebody exposed the backstage of this division. I'm like, I don't think it just goes to the women's division. I think it's the whole locker room feels like that.
And we've talked to death about the men's roster's toxicity issues, but especially with what has been coming out over recent weeks, obviously this is a problem within the women's division locker room as well.
And also, there's not going to be 80,000, 90,000 people in that place. There's just not.
That's not the topic at hand.
Yeah, but there is an underlying thing. It's like, okay, there is a toxicity.
There's a toxicity. There's
the performance becomes bad.
There's manipulation. There's lying and stealing and all of that stuff going on behind the scenes. We don't know how far this rabbit hole goes down, but we got to keep our eye out on this because this could very well implode and become a major issue for this promotion.
Right. I'm going to get a little nostalgic here because I think it has to be said. When the women's division within AEW was first brought in, the match quality was so different. You know why? Because they cared. They cared and they had the passion. But now, paint by numbers. Who cares? I feel like it's just such a bad effect because of the obvious toxicity. Like,
right.
It's so obvious.
And now it's just coming to light, and that's it. That's just how it works.
I just wish one of the women within that division would really speak out clearly and actually from the heart, because I think they're afraid about getting fired, because if they get fired from AEW, where are they going to go from there? They're all former WWE, WWF wrestlers, essentially. And the other ones are not to that quality. They're worried.
Yeah.
They're worried about losing that nice paycheck because it's that nice paycheck.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty much all I've got. Anything else to add?
It just feels so gross, because it's like, it's so, I hate talking about negative. I do.
Oh, I know.
But
we have gets the views.
It has to be addressed. It has to be showcased, because it is important.
Yes.
We want the women's division to be booked better.
But who else is, who within is going to listen, right?
Yeah, exactly. I hope somebody does. I hope somebody wakes up and gets a clue and realizes that these responses, and
they're valid.
Yeah, they're valid, and they should be cared about, and you should not be afraid about losing your job for coming forward of a serious issue, because you're hurting nobody but yourself, and you're not helping.
Right.
You're just hurting it, because being silent is supporting it, and it's not good.
Anyways, let's move on. What are we talking about? You're getting on your soapbox next.
I'm going to get on my soapbox. Not a whole lot happening, so it'll be a little bit shorter.